why did Abraham come into the city of Shechem? Well, there are a few letters that were written by the man who's ruling Shechem at that time. The man's name is Labayu, which is a Hebrew name, Lavi, which means the lion. Lavi writes to Pharaoh and complains. He says, my foes are accusing me of treason to Pharaoh. I am loyal, but I have a right to defend myself. What's peculiar about his letter is if you read it, it's not clearly Babylonian, although it's Babylonian script. It's Hebrew. It sounds very Hebrew because he is in effect telling his scribe, or he's writing the letter, and he's writing Babylonian, but you know, he uses the Babylonian letters, the Babylonian symbols, to record the language that he's speaking. So it's more Hebrew than it is Babylonian. Not only that, at one point he quotes a Phoenician proverb, which is pure Hebrew. And the proverb is this. He says, you mean I shouldn't defend myself? Evidently, others had written and said, this man is disloyal to Pharaoh, and he's taking the land away from us, and he's disloyal. And he's saying, I'm only defending myself. And then he says, Ki timchatsu namlu lo tikabilu wa yinshachu yad adami. It's pure Hebrew. If you try to slap an ant and it feels the threat, it's going to turn around and sting you. So he says, even an ant will not accept the hand of a person trying to crush it, will turn around and sting. Don't I have the right to turn around and fight my enemies? I'm entitled. It's interesting how he writes that. The other thing is Pharaoh must have said to him, must have written him a letter saying, I want you to come to Egypt and present your case. So he writes him a letter and says, Pharaoh, with all due respect, and I bow down in the before you, I can't come to Egypt now. I'm too busy. You know, I have to defend myself against all my enemies, and excuse me, but I won't be able to make it this time. He doesn't want to go to Egypt because Pharaoh will probably imprison him. But it's so interesting to see these conflicts going on. The Canaanite king of Byblos writes letters to Pharaoh which are desperate and says, in effect, I'm being attacked by Aziru, the Amorite. Now, that's another interesting point. And he's being helped by you-know-who. Now, evidently, the Hittites of the north are encouraging the Hebrews and the Amorites to attack the Canaanites. Why? Because the Hittites would like to do anything to loosen Egyptian control of Asia, which is right next to them. So the Hittites are encouraging this. Now, if you read Genesis chapter 14, you will notice that Abraham's allies are Amorites. So Abraham and his neighbors, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, 3 Amorites, they're all Baalei Brit Abraham. They're allies of Abraham. So when Abraham is attacked, that is the raiding kings come and they kidnap Lot, his nephew, Abraham comes to his neighbors and says, look, one for all and all for one. I got to get my nephew back. You come with me. So they all go after them. This is right there in Genesis chapter 14. And the other thing is, in Genesis chapter 23, you see that Abraham, when he wants to buy a piece of land for a grave for Sarah, he doesn't go to the Canaanites. They won't have anything to do with him. He goes to the Hittites. So what are the Hittites doing there? Egypt and the land of the empire of the Hittites are 2 empires, cordial, formally, on good terms, and each one is trying to undermine the other one. Is there anything antique about that, or ancient about that? I mean, look, during the Cold War, the United States had an ambassador in Moscow. Moscow had an ambassador in Washington. We're at peace with each other. We have diplomatic relations. In the meantime, this Cold War is going on. It went on for a long time. Well, Egypt and Hittites were in the same relationship. They were friendly. You know, in fact, there's a suggestion that maybe a Hittite prince will marry an Egyptian princess. You know, let's get friendly. That's just a suggestion. But in the meantime, Aziru, who is an Amorite, is being encouraged by the Hittites to hit the Canaanites. So Ribadi, king of Byblos, writes letters to Pharaoh and saying they're attacking me, and you know who is backing him, and Aziru is killing me. And then he says, but Pharaoh, I'm the king of Byblos, Byblos, an Egyptian city, and you're not defending me? I mean, this is his claim. This is an Egyptian city, and I'm defending it, and you're not defending me? As a matter of fact, he was deposed. I mean, Aziru did get him out and take over. So we see this, what's going on there. So these letters reflect the conditions of Egypt at the time.